We treat outside organizations like sometimes we could point the finger and say, yeah, these guys aren't working out, or this is like a problem area, but when you're looking at that as a reflection of you and your performance, ultimately the CEO of your company is going to look at you and he's going to say, Ken, how is the job getting done? Are we doing what we need to do? And so you look at it that way, it's vital, that relationship. So what are the kinds of things you even think about knowing the kind of context and that kind of importance? How do you vet a BPO partner? Like, what are the things that are the criteria of what you think is important to get a new BPO partner in to do that kind of a job?
Vetting the partner, finding the right partner, like I said, we must have found the right one because it's lasted this long. And so what you're looking for is how do they train? How do they disseminate your information and your product information, your policies, procedures, different things? So they go about imparting that information upon the team that's going to be working for you. And then in terms of how do they train, does that align with how you train? And is there any flexibility there? So with our product line, our market, our customer profile, it's a little bit niche. It's B2B and not B2C. I think that's an important difference there in terms of how you manage those relationships or how you communicate with the customers ultimately. Because you're talking about people that are dealing with bottom line. So they're not necessarily dealing with, oh, my TV's not working right now and I can't watch my favorite podcast. You're dealing with a production line manager whose equipment is down and he needs a solution because he's losing $5,000 an hour and the operations manager is beating down his throat. So making sure that there's a good understanding of that profile, that the BPO partner that you're choosing is comfortable delving into that realm. A lot of contact centers, a lot of phone center type stuff is probably, I think most people think about it's B2C. Having a full understanding for how they train their agents and then the flexibility of how they train, now getting back into how niche our product lines is, not just the personality profile, how you talk to them, but also our specific products. It's not a cell phone. It's not a B2C product. It's not a TV. It's very unique equipment that has very specific parameters around how it operates, what it will do, what it won't do. So we really need these agents to be able to have a good understanding, comprehension around this, because the types of phone calls that they're fielding or getting are going to be questions from production line manager at some kind of food production company that's, hey, I need this piece of equipment for my factory and I need it to be able to do this, that, A, B, and C. Can yours do A, B, and C? So that training is just so crucial. And what we ended up doing was doing a hybrid, a little bit of where typically their default would be to train the trainer and then they have their trainer do their internal training. We did a combination of that. I did some initial training with that person, but also did the group training. And I think that's important because in terms of any kind of questions that come up, it's really important that I can do my best to train their trainer, but they're going to have some questions that are probably only I'm going to be able to answer. So them allowing me to take part in that training of their team definitely was a huge thing. And then role playing, this was really just overall that our partner just has a great QA process in place, not only for their training, but also how they monitor their KPIs moving forward. You want a partner that's willing to accept your KPIs without a doubt, because if they can't bridge their QA processes with what you're measuring, I think that's on automatic. This isn't going to work. Understanding how they ensure their quality, how regularly are they auditing their agents, and then ongoing training. How do you do ongoing training? We recently identified the fact that there was some gap. It's just been a while since we touched on some products. And so there was a little bit of, just a few product informations that just need to be reiterated and do some retraining. But having a proactive partner that when you're reporting issues that you're seeing or reviewing quality, or I don't know if I like this response or that response, we need to do better here. And then having that partner having their own systems in place for how to address those and then take corrective measures and corrective actions. And then also their structure and organization is quite crucial. So the way that they're set up is we have a team of agents that cover for us 24 hours a day. So our internal team covers our business hours. And then, anything outside of business hours, Saturday and Sunday, our BPO handles that for us. So they have a team that basically are on shifts that rotate so that they can cover that 24-hour span. And then they have a team leader that is our primary point of contact, that then is responsible for dispersing, as opposed to now I got to keep 6 people in mind. How do I communicate with 6 people? How do I train 6 people? No, I just have one point of contact. And then they're running that team internally. And then not only do they have a team lead, They also have a performance analyst or a QA person. I don't know. I'm not quite sure but that is literally going in on a monthly basis and doing random audits of phone calls and random audits of chat. And the grading rubric that they have in place for how they grade, they grade product knowledge, they grade grammar, they grade linguistics, because we're dealing with an international team of agents that are responding to native English speakers. So we want to make sure that they're speaking very clear English. So there's just the grading rubric reminds me of being in college. They send it to me on a monthly basis. Here's the scores and here's what we've identified. I've jokingly shown it to my internal sales team, and they do a great job. I don't want to not. I'm not trying to say they don't, but I jokingly tell them, watch out, or I'm going to start grading you guys like our BPO grades their agents. And it'd be curious to see how, if I did an audit once they do their audits, and what kind of score you guys would get. So there's a lot there, but yeah, it's just getting a full understanding of how they train and then how they maintain that knowledge base, and then continually to grow that knowledge base. And then monitor how that is translated into actual performance or conversations with your potential customers or even existing customers.